Efendim abi? Kaç? 125 falan da. İşte şeyleri kendi şeyini.
WhatsApp'a yazarım. Ben size yazarım. WhatsApp'a yazarım.
Really? And the result? Wow, good, good. Wow. Nice to hear that.
Mikrofon çalışıyor.
Salonda bir arkadaş var. Asif olmaz. Asif mıydı? Bana uzatma kartı olursanız tamam. Ama o önde olması lazım zaten. Tamam.
Tamam şöyle bir itiraz yoksa masayı şöyle bir şey olur. Yoksa şuraya.
Yani deneyelim. Hemen de bir
Boyuna kadar. Maksimum.
bu kadar masanın üstüne olmasın. Yani masayı şuraya koyarsam daha karşıdan çekebilirim. Hemen yapayım.
Sen şu
Bir saniye. Peki sen şunu tutar mısın? Masa. Siz şunu yavaş yavaş getirin hep birlikte. Ama hep birlikte hareket edelim. Burada kalsın. Başka şey anlat. Takılan bir kaplı bir şey var mı? Peki ben şunu tamam. Bir saniye. Önemli değil o kadar.
onu istersen boyunu kısaltabilirsin.
Oo. Allah. Bana bir sehpa lazım.
Evet, şu
Yok şu bilgisayarda.
bilgisayar sehpa lazımsa o zaman nasıl yapacağız? Bu da olmaz.
O da olur. Olur.
İstersen bunu otur. Ya bunu otur.
Ama şu kucağımda olmasın diye diyorum.
O zaman böyle koyalım.
Test çevirebilirsiniz.
Başka bir tane sehpa var. Bir dakika hemen getiriyorum. Peki.
Ben de şu şeyin açısını ayarlayayım.
Sehpa var.
Şunu bir ayarlayabilir misin? Ben söyleyeyim. Ha dur tamam. Tamam gerek kalmadı. Ben yaparım.
Bu alta koyayım mı? Oldu mu?
Mikrofonla konuşsun. Ben de? Evet. Yayınlanıyor mu? Yok, ben ben nasıl istiyorsam o
Sen istersen ikisini birden konuşuyorsun istersen.
ya da arka plana geçiyorum mesela. Arka artı kamera geçiyorum. O bir Freelance, open source.
Kaç resim
Hello everyone, welcome. I'll be your host tonight. My name is Louise from Building Castles in the Sky. First of all, we welcome you all tonight. We appreciate all of you being here, especially because we have a very interesting guest speaker today. Before we do that, we're going to introduce someone from Level 39 first. He's going to talk a bit about what Level 39 is doing and how Level 39 is contributing to a tech here in communications and fintech. So I would like to introduce to you Asif, and the event here tonight is in collaboration with the London Innovation Society and Level 39. So great welcome to Asif.
Thank you. Thanks, Elise. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Asif. I look after communications at Level 39. So the first thing I think maybe you're wondering is, what is this place? Is that fair? Is that a reasonable assumption? So what is this place? The place you are currently in, the place I've been working in for the last 3 years, we call the world's most connected technology community. There are 200 technology businesses who work out of Level 39. They're not big businesses, they're small businesses, but they have very big ambitions. We are an incubator, an accelerator, a space for those companies to grow. And our fundamentals is we take a small business and we want to make it a multinational, global success. So that's essentially what Level 39 is, and that's why we're so happy to support London Innovation Society, and why it's honestly such a pleasure to hear from established, successful entrepreneurs like Elmer and others in the series of events that London Innovation Society are putting on. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to be very, very brief, but I will be here all evening and more than happy to show you around, because what we're actually currently in is a very small part of this floor. There are workspaces, and there are desk spaces and there are more events spaces. So I would love to show you around, and you can find me for the rest of the night. With that said, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I believe this is the point where I get to introduce Eleanor. So a big round of applause for Eleanor and the whole London Innovation Society team.
Hi everyone. I would encourage everyone to come closer so I can see you better. And I can see your face whether you like what I'm saying or whether you're bored, so I can make it more interesting for you. Okay, shall we switch to my slide back? I think something needs to be done here. Okay, it's wonderful to be here. As I understand, all companies here are aiming to be a unicorn one day, $1 billion company one day. And we're not a $1 billion company, but we believe we're halfway here. So if anything I say will be of any use to you, I will be happy. And to make it more useful and more interesting, please be very brave to ask questions, because I'm guessing here what you're really interested in. So more questions you ask, more useful information I will give, because I can talk, and whether it's interesting or not, I don't know. So please, I'll try to end up with a Q&A session as quickly as possible, but please ask questions. Just 1 second, I will adjust the microphone height. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay, so my name is Elnur Seidli. I'm a CEO and co-founder of a company called halalbooking.com. We are a UK-based company, and something happened.
I think the pointer goes that you may use there, but it's okay.
That's all. Okay, I resolved it. Okay.
I think there is a business opportunity to build better technology for presentations. That's how the ideas come across, you solve an actual problem. So, okay, so I have a slide pack about where we are, and it will give you an idea where we are at the moment. We're a company which we believe is valued at $50 million. That's why the presentation is called How It Goes from 0 to 50 and from 50 to billion. Oh, is there a problem again? We need to have wireless solutions for this. Okay, I think it works now. Okay, so where our company is today is we are by far the #1 website which specializes in what we call travel search for a halal conscious customer. So it's basically mostly middle-aged Muslim families around the world. When they search, they have certain criteria. We call it a halal consciousness criteria. And we help them to make their search quicker and faster. And from the companies which specialize in this, we are by far #1. We have 6 languages and 75 countries as our customer base, various destinations. And we have a registered brand, various integrations, and so on. So that's where we are now. As you can see, we basically doubled every year since we were founded about 7 years ago. This happened without almost no funding. So we just naturally grew. And I'll come back to that. Why do we think we managed to grow this much? So this year we'll probably have 30 million in our turnover. so we're still doubling. So the challenge is now how to continue doubling, which is a completely different challenge from the challenge to get here. The good thing about our type of business, it's a marketplace business. It's where we connect suppliers and customers. So we don't create a product. We just make it easy for suppliers to meet with customers. So it's a marketplace. It's not a merchant model. It's a marketplace model. Marketplace, what's good about marketplace? What's bad about marketplace? It's very difficult to get traction. But once you get traction, what's really great about it, it's highly scalable. And as this slide shows, your costs become a fraction of your profits. So there is a great opportunity to grow there. The critical thing is to get to break-even point. That's very difficult. But once you do it, it's a great business model. So marketplace versus merchant model. We have a great team. I'm a CEO, but we have a CTO, we have a chief operating officer who's looking after the business side of things and suppliers. We have a chief designer. Actually, recently, one of founding members of a very famous company, Booking.com, which is the #1 leader in travel search, in hotel search in the world. It's a Netherlands-based company. He joined us as a consultant as well on a fee-based basis. So we have a great team, each specializing and focusing on in their own area. And I think one of the key ingredients for success is how this team works together. You know, if they each do their job really well and they have complementing skill sets and they communicate well, that's a very important thing for success. So coming back to what we mean by halal travel search. So very broadly speaking, you can divide it into 5 different areas, this particular problem we're talking about. One is about food. That's everyone understands that. The other thing is about family-friendly entertainment, environment. The third one is about, dedicated ladies-only leisure facilities such as beach and spa and so on. And there is obviously prayer and time out. So this is far too many problems to solve in one go. Yeah. So when we started, we said we are not going to solve all those problems. It's just too much. For every hotel, we need to get the data about all those services, and it's just too much. So what we did is we chose to focus on just one thing. So we focused on leisure facilities, so the third category here. Yeah. So that's very important advice I give. Make hard decisions about focusing. So if you're at early stage, be clear, you cannot do it all, yeah? Because when we started, we wanted to sell flights, we want to sell hotels, we wanted to sell that, we want to sell everything, we wanted to do all countries. It's impossible, yeah? Focus on solving one problem at a time. If you try to solve too many problems, you may end up with nothing. You may not break even, so focus. So what we did in our case is we focused on leisure, and we're still not focusing on all of them. We're now focusing on leisure facilities and food. Yeah, we're not focusing on all 5 or 6 or 7 categories, whatever they are. Yeah, so that's still, being this size, we have about 40, 45 employees. We're still focused on 2 out of 5 categories. What's great about this market? It's a niche market. Niche markets have good and bad side. Good side is that it's specific, so not everyone understands it. So if in your team you have skills to understand it at a deep level, you have an advantage over everyone else. The bad thing about being a niche is sometimes very small. So you need to decide, is it too small for you, the niche you're going to focus on? In our particular case, it's not that small, so that's what I really liked about this business. It has all the characteristics of niche, but at the same time, it's not too small. It's very big, it's in billions potential market. Saying that, if the market is very big, it means lots of people will be interested in it. And then you need to ask a question, are you really, really special? Can you execute this business model better than anyone? And if the answer is yes, you don't look back. You just go ahead, and sooner or later, you'll succeed. We are actually a latecomer, the latest comer probably to this market. Before us, hundreds of people tried to do this, and here on the upper side of this graph, you can see all those companies which are specifically focused on halal search, halal travel search. At the bottom, you see companies which are not specifically focused on this, and you have big names like Booking.com and so on. But we are actually the latecomer. But still, we are the only one which is already global. We have bookings from 75 countries, and we are focused on this particular market. And the reason for that is, again, you need to think what are the critical success factors for your business model. In our case, we have, I would say, 2 big success factors. You have to understand the real problem, which is in this particular case a travel search problem of a halal conscious family holiday makers on one side. On the other side, you need to be great at engineering and data management, because this problem cannot be solved scalably without great engineering. Yeah, you can have a small boutique shop, yeah, but to scale it up, it requires rocket science engineering. You know, travel, search, hotel search is a very complex matter. And we happen to have those. We happen to have a great world-class CTO, which is looking after the engineering side of things, and we have business people who really try to understand the business problem and decipher it. Because the problem is very fuzzy. You know, I want to go to such and such place, yeah? In most customers' eyes, heads, it's a fuzzy problem. It's not well-defined data, structured data. It's us who needs to make those decisions. How to structure this data so it's searchable, easily understandable, UX-friendly. So you have to marry these quite opposing skills, yeah? So, which is, one is understand halal conscious travelers' search problem, and the other one is engineering. Not everyone has it. So if you are the person, or your team is a group of people who have all critical success factors for a business model, you succeed. And the reason why, in spite of being latecomer, we're still now by far ahead among the companies who specialize in this, is because they have something, they have one critical set of skills, but not the other. So some of them are great engineering companies, but they're just not good at business process understanding and definition of the actual business problem. Some understand business problem really well, but they can't scale it up because they don't have the really engineering background. You know, they do website, it works, but the moment they try to scale it up, like introduce another language maybe, it just becomes high maintenance and has lots of bugs, because fundamentally it's not built correctly from the start. So that's an important concept for your business, is think hard, what are critical success factors? Not just any success factors, critical success factors, because there are many success factors. You know, you need many skills, like dozens of skills, but think which 2 or 3 are the most important ones, and make sure you're covered. Make sure you have it in your team, because if you do have it in your team, you will grow. And I would welcome questions about that. I'm happy to elaborate on that point. Some economics. These economics are very important at early stage of your company. In travel business, this is very critical, but I believe it pretty much in any business is probably quite critical, but especially in travel, it's very easy to get it wrong. A lot of travel companies, a lot of travel startups fail at some point in spite of funding, is because they get those metrics wrong. So your customer acquisition value has to be below your first purchase value. If it's not, it's just a matter of time that you run out of cash. Yeah, so you can only, for a very short period of time, to have the opposite arithmetics. In our case, we always watched it, and it's very good economics. As you can see, the first purchase value, which means profit from the first purchase, pure profit, is higher than our costs have been to acquire a customer. So just to explain, yeah, so let's say we spent $600 on 100 potential customers, and let's say okay, so let's say we said spent $60 on 100 potential customers, and let's say 1 out of those 100 became actual customer. So we make $220 on that customer. So from $60 spent, we have 1 customer acquired, and we made a profit. So make sure your arithmetics are right. And again, feel free to ask questions. I can elaborate on that. The reason I'm showing the third figure is a lot of people concentrate too much on the third figure, which is a lifetime value. It's a good thing to think about, but don't be carried away. Yeah, focus on the second figure. It has to be higher than your first figure. These are various features of our website. I will not go too much into detail, but the point here is you have to have a USP. You have to have something different from your competitor. If you don't, be under no illusion that's not business. Even if you do have, it needs to be significantly different and significantly unique for you to succeed. So to have a chance, it needs to be quite unique. If it's not unique enough, yeah, or if you don't have it, forget it. There's no chance you can succeed. Okay. These are various screenshots from our website. So all those things help with the search. So when people search for multiple properties, they can use various filters to filter out hotels which are acceptable to their own criteria. And obviously, to make it searchable, it's very important to have the right data structures and to acquire data from suppliers and put it to the right data cells so that it's searchable. And we pay a lot of attention to data quality, data management and those things. This is critical for our success. Why data quality is important? Because when you start, you can do it manually. We did a lot of work manually when we started because we had 50 hotels. You don't need very scalable processes to make sure data quality is high for 50 hotels. So we did a lot of work manually, and that helps with our success. But now we have about 1,000 properties on our website, and we are aiming for 10,000 by the end of the year. It's a very different challenge to scale up. So we can no longer work with individual hotel and waste our time to get the data correct. So we developed some, wonderful UX-friendly screens for suppliers to enter their data. We implemented various monitoring processes, which it's like artificial intelligence style, which spot possible inconsistencies, errors in entered data by suppliers. So I can go on what we're doing about it, but the point is how you ensure data quality when you start is completely different, and then how you grow from $50 million company to 1 billion, yeah? At the beginning, it's not just okay to do something manually, it's actually important to do it manually because you learn, and at some stage you can say, okay, I see the pattern, and now I can create an algorithm to semi-automate or fully automate it. So to scale it up, anyway, it's always good to do manually, but always keep it in mind that there is a point when you cannot keep doing it manually. You need to scale up. And I can give various examples, but I would welcome a specific question, so my answer is more relevant to your interests. So once the person searches for multiple hotels and uses filters, they can go into more detail and look for individual hotels. What do they have? What do they don't have? And so on. And as I said, the whole page is designed with our customer in mind. It's custom built. For example, you will never see a lot of information about a conference room in a hotel, but you will see a lot of information about halal food or family hours in a sauna or stuff like that. And people read reviews. That's very important. It's because website is used by halal conscious customers, so every review by previous customer is of great value. To get the same value out of TripAdvisor, which is the biggest review website of hotels and restaurants in the world, you probably need to read 100 reviews to squeeze some information. Yeah, but on our website, pretty much every review is of value to potential customers. So all of this add value. Those are our differentiations, our unique things about our business, which once customers use it, they come back. It's about some family pricing. I'll not go into detail on that, but the point I think is made that there is a lot of specific things about this niche market, and we're trying to address them with various features. This is our data flow diagram. I can come back to that if anyone asks questions, but we have like lots of various integrations, and the problem in travel is data is very, very inconsistent across different platforms. So we put a lot of effort to do data mapping, to make sure that data on our system maps correctly to the data on the other system, and it's displayed correctly to the customer. Depending on your sectors, this might be very important or not so important. So for example, the airlines industry is much more standardized in terms of data. Hotels industry, completely not. There's no standardization, which is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. If you do it right, you're ahead of competition. So the one on the left is actually a website which we created. So the one on the right is a website for customers. So that's what customers see. The website on the left is a specific website for suppliers, for hotels. Yeah, this didn't exist a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, we would take information by email, by phone, scrape it from their website, and put it into the right data structures on our website. Now, we obviously cannot afford to do that for 10,000 hotels. So we created this website on the left where a hotel staff member goes for it and just answers questions in the way they see the world, they see their hotel. And obviously any tick or untick on that website impacts the customer website. So this is about scalability. You don't need the website on the left. It's called extranet in our supplier extranet. You don't need the website on the left to reach where we are now, but you need it to scale it up. Yeah. So again, making tough choices on what to develop and what not to develop is very important. I'll give an example of what we yet don't have. We don't have an app. You might be surprised, we still don't have an app because it's not top of priority. We have like 1,000 projects in our list, and it's probably like 200, 300 projects. I don't want to go into details why, but the point is, even for a company of our size, we are sacrificing. We're saying we don't have an app. Why? Because it's not a priority. So tough decisions on priorities are very critical. More screenshots. Okay, so again, so where we are now, we have about 1,000 properties on our website, but we are aiming for 10,000 properties. We have 6 languages, and the way we manage to have those 6 languages is not scalable to have 26 languages. So because we want to add another 20, 30 languages, yeah. So the processes we have now need to be scaled up. For example, a lot of manual work goes into quality control of our localizations, of our translations. We can have that, yeah. So we are developing internal processes. So our system starts now understanding who is authorized to change which field in a German language. For example, in the past it was all the same access level, so a human control all 6 languages. We cannot afford it. Moving forward, yeah, it needs to be much stricter control, stricter processes. So you need to take the manual processes and implement them into the system. Otherwise, it will be a mess when you have 26 languages. So just an example. So we want to go beyond hotels, to villas and I don't know, resorts and skiing resorts and apartments and everything. So we are doing a lot of refactoring of our code because a lot of it is biased towards the hotels we have now, because the way the pricing and suitability works with villas is very different from ski resorts, for example. So in the past we decided not to worry about these things, which creates something called technical debt. I'm not sure if you heard this word, refactoring. So we have to do it, but earlier you do it, the better. So we launch an app. It's something we don't have an experience with. So once we do it, we'll need to do it properly. And various other things we want to do. For example, we launched and we're going to develop a loyalty program. That's not something we had before, a loyalty program. Why? Because when you don't have many customers, you're struggling to get one customer. Once you have customers, we have now probably 20,000 customers. You do want to recycle them. You want to keep them. They come back to you and book with you all the time. So it's worth an effort to put it's worth an effort to do something about the loyalty program to keep them coming back. But in the past, we didn't do it. So we're doing it now. So, so that's where we are. We are aiming maybe in 4 or 5 years to reach a $1 billion valuation. And probably 3 billion in our turnover. I'll go back to this slide. Yeah, so that's our plan. So the year on the left is the current year, and the year on the right is where we aim to be. Will we reach it? I strongly believe so. Yeah. But as I said, the key thing is it's a completely different challenge to get to there from where we are now in comparison with where we were. You know, the challenges we had in the past are different challenges. So I'll give an example. So in the past we worked as one team, but once you're beyond 10 people, 15 people, you can't work as one team. It has to multi-team. So you have to create bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is something the word everyone avoids. Don't avoid it. If you don't create bureaucracy, it will be born itself. Yeah? If you don't set culture of your company, the culture will develop, evolve itself. So control it. Yeah? So this is something to keep thinking about. Don't leave it too late. My rule of thumb is if someone manages 5 people, that's a full-time job. So beyond, but don't let anyone manage 5 direct reports. Which means when you go beyond 5 people, about 10 people, you need to start thinking about the second layer. Yeah? And second layer, you know, in your org chart. And some people say, oh no, we don't want to have a hierarchy, we want to have a meritocracy, blah, blah, blah. It's all good. Do have a meritocracy, you know. Make sure, you know, if you're a CEO or a senior person, you're accessible to anyone, to everyone. You eat the same thing, you sit around the same desk, and you have the same computer. You know, in our company, everyone has the same computer. We only do Surface, or Apple, obviously. But if you have Windows computer, everyone does Surface Pro 4, high spec. I have that. Any person has the same, yeah? So that's meritocracy, yeah? But saying, oh, we don't have an org chart, it doesn't matter who reports to, that's rubbish, yeah? It will not let you grow scalably. So, don't leave it too late. When you hit challenges, again, come back to thinking, why are you in this business? Is there a market for this? Are you solving a real problem? Do you have really USPs? Do you have all the critical skills to execute this business model? And if you do, don't worry. If you have a bad month, don't worry. I will give an example. After a few months after we started, and it was like 7 years ago, every month we had few bookings. So we had some traction. But we had 1 month, and I remember it was February, we had complete zero. Complete and utter zero. So no single booking, no single dollar, no single pound. And it didn't affect us. The reason it didn't affect us because we thought we are solving a real problem, we are solving it right, we're the best people to solve it, so we just pushed on. And the next month things were back to normal. So it was just one unlucky month. So again, when you don't have attraction, that's a good indication of maybe you're not doing something right. So you need to ask those questions which I just said. You know, critical skill set, are you solving the real problem, is there a real market, blah, blah, blah. But as long as you're clear, as long as you're clear on positive answers to those things, don't worry, work hard, the success will come. What else shall I say? VC investment. Some people may ask, is it good to have a VC investment or is it bad? It's good and bad. In our case, we didn't have a VC investment. The good thing about not having VC investment is that it forces you to watch this every month, yeah? Because you don't have cash. So you don't have a cash which will compensate for higher customer acquisition costs that you have in your profit. So you watch, you spend your money right, you get real customers, you make a real profit, yeah? So you're very unlikely to run out of cash and burn. But not having VC investment is bad in a sense that if you found a great market opportunity, if you're great at solving it, if you have a great team to execute it, not having a VC investment means you have to move slowly. And you can argue that we could have moved much faster than doubling every year. And that's probably true. And that's probably true. So there is good and bad. Which path you choose is up to you. But both are good and bad. What else? Let me go through slides and that will trigger possibly something interesting in my mind. Brand. Yeah, choose your brand early on correctly. We changed our name 5 times. That's embarrassing. We changed our name 5 times. The good news is the last time we changed it was a long time ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. It costs a lot of money to change your brand once the brand has some value. So do change it, do choose it correctly. Make it short. I personally think halal booking is a bit long, but it's okay. Make it short if you can. Ideally, it should tell what your brand is about. Ideally, because then you save on that message. You don't have to keep explaining your ads what it is. Yeah, ideally, and our brand does that, and it's very clear to all hoteliers and many customers immediately what it is. Yeah, so in that sense, we sacrificed the length and we went for a longer one. Another mistake we did, our previous brand was Crescent Tours, and some of you may heard about that. So Crescent Tours doesn't exist anymore, it's halal booking. And it was a great brand for people in Britain. What we didn't realize is nobody understands what it is. Nobody knows this word, Crescent. And so we realized that it's just impossible. So we just said, people don't understand this word, Crescent, outside of Britain, so we were forced to change the brand. So, and we went with something which pretty much in every language makes sense. It's easy to spell and so on. If your business is going to, in the long term, focus on just English-speaking market, obviously you have to think about English-speaking market. If it's going to be a global brand, think about something meaningful for the global audience. Or don't choose a meaningful. Choose something short, easy to spell. For example, Zara. You know, everyone knows Zara. You know, clothes shops. Yeah. Zara is small, easy to spell. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a name of a lady, I suppose. But so either go for something which is not very meaningful but short, or go for something meaningful to all your long-term customer audience, not the immediate one. Long-term, because rebranding costs a lot of money. You have to do a lot of change, a lot of re-communication, a lot of SEO, you know, search engine optimization, and so on. And register the brand if it's important for you. If it's something, register the brand in advance. It's very cheap to register. What else? What else? We say we have 75 countries, but we started with Britain as our customer base. So don't run after too many targets. You know, be very focused on your first target. So we chose Britain. We specifically chose Midlands. We targeted Midlands specifically. Yeah, we found it. We thought it's an easiest target in terms of destination. Like where the customers are going, we specifically focused on Antalya region of Turkey, not just Turkey, specifically Antalya region of Turkey. Specific choice. Oh, now we have properties in 30 to 40 countries, but at the time we were very focused, and I think that focus helped a lot to survive and to grow. And after we thought, oh, we will have some traction in Midlands, we started targeting Southeast England, and then we started targeting Germany and Scandinavia, and now it's 75 countries. Okay. What else? I'm just looking at the slides. Okay. The team. Again, as I said, make sure your core team does not consist of people with the same core competencies. You need to complement each other, because sometimes I see 3 great programmers saying we will make the world a better place. Great, but it's great for 3 people in a tech company to all have engineering skills. But the business is not all about engineering. As I said, you need to make sure that one of the founding members and someone who is in it long term, whatever happens, has the other critical skills you need. And that's why it's very important to think about the business model you have and decide, out of dozens of skills we need, which 3, 4, maybe 2 are critical. Which 3 skills are the ones where if we don't have one of them, we will fail. So once you know the answer, make sure your core team has it. And if you have it, all other skills can be complemented later. You can buy it, you can hire people and so on. So divide the skills you need into critical, not critical for your success. And that's what we have. We have people who really complement each other. So for example, on top right, Enver, it was actually his idea. He's from Birmingham, and it was his idea. He brought me this idea, so we started the company. He has a very strong travel experience. He's great at talking to suppliers, agreeing deals, configuring data in our systems. And on the left, we have a CTO who has a great technological skills. He can build great technologies. I'm like a glue in between. I kind of help them to talk to each other and so on. So we have someone with marketing skills. He's from British Petroleum previously, and he has great marketing skills. It's at Skufok. He speaks 4 languages. Out of 6 languages we have, he speaks 4 of them fluently and 2 partially, which is great. It helped a lot. So it was critical for our success at the time and now, and that's what we have. So, and we have a great designer. So again, make sure you have a complementing set of people. I talked about this. I think that's it. I don't want to keep talking. I do really, really want you to ask questions, and I want as challenging questions as possible. And I would welcome you with a pleasure saying, what you're saying is nonsense. I know better. And challenge me. I would be happy with that. Don't worry. So please do ask questions. Yeah. Can we move to questions? Yeah. Q&A. Okay. Thank you. Questions? Yeah.
Well, firstly, congratulations on what you've achieved so far. Well done. My question is, what is your customer acquisition strategy to meet your growth objectives?
From now on or so far?
Yeah, moving forward to quadruple.
Yes. I'll repeat the question.
Hello? Hello?
I think you need the wire. There's no wire. I told you there is a business opportunity here.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So the question was, what is our customer acquisition strategy moving forward? And using a chance, I will mention some details of our customer acquisition strategy before and from now on, so you can see how it differs as you move forward. So when we started again, we were doing a lot of things which now we wouldn't do because it's not scalable, but at the time we would do it. So we tried lots of things. Some were pathetically bad and some worked. So for example, we went to various Ramadan Eid fairs and dished out vouchers and ads. Pretty much didn't work because everyone would take that paper and throw it to the bin. Yeah, nobody would remember you. Nobody would go to your website and check because by the time they're home behind computer, they forget about you. We tried some TV ads or radio ads. They were fantastic, but they were a waste of money. Something surprisingly worked really well. Yeah. So we sponsored a journalist from a newspaper on holiday, and it cost us, let's say, £1,000. Yeah, and we managed to push some of it to, maybe Turkish Airlines said, "Can you give a free ticket or something like that?" And off she goes, and has a fantastic time. Comes back and writes an article, gives it to Guardian, and Guardian publishes it. And for a year, we're getting traffic from it. Yeah, so it was great. It took a lot of money to engage and find that journalist, and it didn't cost much, but it took a lot of our time. But it generated good traffic. So that's what we've done in the past. Are we doing it now? Yes, but not everything. So For example, at the moment, we cannot afford to talk to 100 journalists hoping one of them will agree to go on a holiday. Yeah? What we do, we just add them all to our database, we constantly market to them, and we make it very clear. We actually organize these trips now as groups, and we pay for everything. We pay for business class tickets and so on. We can afford it now. But now we end up with one trip for 20 people, journalists, for 30 journalists. Yeah. So previously we were trying to get the journalists, to go at a low cost to us. Now we do it in a bulk sense. In the past, we didn't do any social marketing. We absolutely do it now. So, for example, if you're a niche business, Facebook has some opportunities there because Facebook has a lot of data about people. So what you can do is you can say to Facebook, target anyone who downloaded Expedia app. Expedia is a travel app. Expedia app in the last 6 months, but also at the same time reads that particular book, a religious book. Yeah. So you marry those two, and it gives you a possible highly targeted customer. And you can do it in bulk. You need to spend more money. Yeah. And you probably need to experiment a lot before you find the good targeting method. So you need to have money for it, yeah? But now we can afford it. So we do that experiment, we do hypothesis, we do that experiment, and once we find one, we just throw money at it. And then in 1 month, you can get, dozens of thousands of new customers, potential customers, yeah? We couldn't do it in the past, yeah? We didn't have money to experiment, yeah? Because you need a sample. If you don't have a good sample, you need to say, I'm targeting whole of Germany, yeah? And if you don't have a budget, the test will not work. You will not make the right conclusions. So, social media marketing is very important. Using, as I said, personal data of those individuals to target them in a very, very customized way is very important. We obviously do all the usual SEO. For each language, we optimize our website. We've done a lot of what we call landing pages. So basically, our website now algorithmically generates thousands of landing pages. For each query, we manage to do that, yeah? They're not manual, those landing pages are very highly algorithmically generated. So, for example, let's say someone searches for halal hotel in Germany, or let's say halal hotel in Spain, yeah? So, what we would do is we would have one algorithm which generates hundreds of landing pages for any search which essentially means halal-friendly hotel in Spain. But the actual search might be halal hotel in Spain, or halal hotel in Andalusia, which is part of Spain, or Muslim-friendly hotel in Spain, or Muslim-friendly holiday place in Andalusia. So if you think about all those variations of those adjectives and the word for hotel and the word for halal-friendly, it's actually thousands of various searches multiplied by number of languages. So to create all those pages manually is an impossible task. Yeah, to create 10 of them is manual. But now we're targeting thousands of those types of searches. So we spend a lot of effort, engineering team and digital marketing team, to automate, to auto-generate all those possible adjectives, and it's very specific for each language. It's a lot of effort, but at this scale, you have to do it. So that's an example of something we were doing manually in the past. We're doing it in a more algorithmic way, which takes 10 times, 20 times more effort, but once you do it, it's there, it works, and it targets a lot of customers. So SEO, social media marketing, and still we do engage with various influencers, bloggers. We send them on holidays, luxury holidays. We basically bribe them with holidays to write about us. Some of them, they do it subtly to their audiences, saying, oh, I booked for Halal Booking and it's great. But some say very clearly, I'm sponsored by Halal Booking and so on. So yeah, we do engage with a lot of bloggers as well. So social media is very important in niche market, I would say. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Okay, anyone wants me to elaborate more or ask another question? Someone, okay. I think lady at the back raised hand first. Can you shout a bit?
And I would ask, if you had bigger competitors in the market, what would you do instead of doing things that you're doing?
So the question is, our marketing metrics, I'll go to them, just one second. The question is, our marketing metrics are very good, and the lady thinks it's because we don't have competitors, which is partially true. And the question is, so what we would do if our marketing metrics were not that good? Did I understand your question correctly?
Yes. Yeah. What would you do?
Okay. You would optimize it, I suppose. First of all, there are two things I need to say. Yeah? The reason our marketing metrics are good is not because we don't have competitors. We have lots of competitors. As I said, we're actually a late comer. So it's not because of that. It's partially because of that, but it's not because of that. I think the reason our marketing metrics are good is because we're choosing very targeted campaigns so far. Yeah, and every time you do something in terms of marketing, you do it based on hypothesis that this will work. And when you do the hypothesis, you need to decide what does good mean. What's your definition? Which figures will be good? And then you check. And then you check, and if the market metrics are good, you scale it up, you do more of it. If it's not good, you forget about it. So I'll give an example. We spent money on in Turkey during Ramadan on the top program. You know, it was a religious scholar talking about and answering questions, and everyone, the whole country watches it, yeah? And we spent money on it, and we thought it would work, and it absolutely didn't work, yeah? So costs were like 10 times more than acquisition. So, but if you do it once and you immediately catch it, and you say, it doesn't work, you kill it there. The great thing about marketing is, I don't know, half of what you do is probably adding value. The problem is you don't know which one. Yeah. So the key is to know which one. Yeah. So the reason it's low is because we are very selective, and each time we do something, we build hypothesis and we measure it. What we would do if it was not that good? We would optimize. We would optimize. That's really the answer. Is we would be more selective, more careful, and what type of activities we would do. Really, that's the answer. The key is always measure each activity individually and see if it pays back. And it's more difficult in travel because you need to wait a few months because people don't book holiday every day. You know, they book restaurant every day maybe, but not a holiday. So sometimes you need to wait a few months. So you need to constantly measure it. There are some activities which we still, after 1 year, are not sure if it was worth it or not. But because the way we run that marketing campaign is we can ring fence all the activities, all the costs, and all the conversions, all the bookings resulting from that activity, and can measure it. So that's very, very key to ring fence each marketing activity and measure it very carefully. But having these metrics means as soon as we have extra cash, we can be more aggressive. Yeah. So, for example, if someone comes along and says, we'll invest a lot of cash in you, we can go more aggressively on marketing. So we can, and we will, spoil these metrics. Yeah, because as long as the first figure is smaller than the second figure, you're not worried. Yeah, and you can go aggressively in that sense. But again, always spend your money on something which pays back and measure it. Madam, does that answer your question? Okay, just a thumb up. Okay, I think there was another question there.
Did you have any capital when you started the business?
did I have any capital to start a business? The short answer is no. Yeah, but the exact answer is maybe a little bit. So okay, look at this slide. So as I said, it was our chief operating officer who had this idea. He actually was solving his own problem. He just wanted to go on holiday, and he's done a huge amount of research. And he said, then called me and said, surely millions of people are struggling with this search. Shall we do a business where people at the click of a button can do this search? And we said yes. So we both left our full-time jobs. I was working for British Gas as European IT director, and he was operations director for his travel company. So we left it. It was a very risky decision. We both have families, so we needed some minimum salary to survive on. So we had some savings, and I think the figure is 200K. So I had some savings, so I took huge risk with my savings. So we did have some funding for the first year, let's put it this way. And after the first year, we started generating profit. Yeah. So there are two paths. You may have a lot of cash, and you don't worry about breaking even. You worry about creating traction. Because if you're convinced that once you create traction, and you have some minimal viable product, you will get more funding, then you can choose that strategy. It's a bit risky. What if you're close to running out of money, but nobody's investing? You may die before you start it. Yeah? We didn't go for that. We were very clear from day one. We will generate actual bookings. We will do the minimum viable product, MVP. So we focused very clearly on minimum things we can do to make money. We started making money after 1 year. Yeah? We were able to hire a third person and fourth person and so on. Yeah? So only for first few months, our profit was negative. So it broke even, and we took it from there. And a couple of years ago, we had some private investors who showed an interest at a 25 million valuation. So they invested 800K, so like 3%. So we diluted 3%. But fundamentally, we didn't really have a major VC capital. So it was pretty much what's called bootstrapping. Yeah, so I just backed it up myself with my, savings, credit cards, and so on. You can imagine when you have a big job at British Gas, you have also high limits on your credit cards, so there is some backup. Okay, any other question? Yeah?
So you mentioned about bureaucracy and company culture.
Yeah.
I have a question with two parts. First of all, at what stage did you realize that it is formed or already about to be formed? Within your, let's say, group of people who are working together. And the second question is, going forward, in terms of company culture or in terms of business, what is your biggest challenge that you see?
Okay. So the question was, at which point I realized that there is a need to control the development of our culture and processes and bureaucracy, and moving forward, which is the biggest challenge in that area. I suppose the moment we were over 10 people, I started realizing that I need to pay more attention to it. So we started implementing some processes. So I would say beyond 10 people is probably not too early to start. Be very careful not to overdo it either. Yeah? So I'll give an example. I worked at British Gas, and before that I worked at British Petroleum. British Petroleum is 100,000 people company. Yeah, so they have very big processes. So, for example, every year your performance is measured. Your salary increase depends on it. Your bonus depends on it. There's a very formal process where you have to fill 5 pages of forms. But there it's absolute must. If you don't do it, yeah, there will be lots of argument, a lot of disappointments. So HR, Human Resources Department, watches it, make sure everyone does it properly. Line managers get training on how to do it properly, blah, blah, blah. So I took 1% of that and started implementing it, yeah. So I said, every year, each person will have 1 hour conversation about their performance. No forms, no formality, just meeting. And I participated in every meeting. And because I have experience in this, I made sure we achieve the year. And the primary aim was not to document anything, simply for a person to get a feedback. So they don't think that the effort they put is forgotten. Yeah. So it started building a sense of fairness in a company, a sense of performance, and only performance matters in this company. Yeah. Because especially when you start a company, it's normally friends. Yeah. So new people coming, they may feel I'm not one of them. Yeah. I'm not their friend. Do I have a future here? So we tried, because we started building that, it was very clear. It doesn't matter if you're a friend or not. Only performance matters. Yeah. And now we're sophisticating it. For example, last year I said, also in the middle of the year we'll have small intermediary, like interim review. Yeah. So, and again I participate in all meetings. Yeah. Moving forward, I cannot participate in all meetings. Yeah. So, but because I already did it together with the line managers, I hope we're having a consistent approach to this process here. So take one small part of the process and implement it. Don't do everything, yeah? Just do fit for purpose, what you read right now. Another problem we have is because the founding members are of a Turkish-speaking background. A lot of people speak Turkish, and now we're a more international company, and arguably, Turkish speakers are not, they're the minority now, still the biggest majority, biggest minority, but one thing I'm struggling is to stop people speaking non-English. We actually have an official rule in our company, you cannot not speak English. So you cannot speak any other language than English. If anyone can hear you, it has to be English. Yeah? Because now we have a lot of people from Eastern Europe who are Russian speaking. We have people Turkish speaking, and now we have German speakers and French speakers. So I'm saying if it's external communication, fine, you have to do it in the language you need to do it. Internally, English, forcibly. I'm struggling with that actually, yeah. But I'm sure we'll get over it. But coming back to your other question, the biggest challenge moving forward, I think it's scalability. I think it's scalability because people are used to the way of doing things, and there is a legacy and expertise. I'm now redoing them. For example, data management. The way we did it in the past cannot be the way it's done now. It needs to be now automated processes, alerts, QA processes, and it's a very different skill set and very different systems. So I actually find that developing those systems and coding them is actually easier part. The human process change is more difficult. So earlier you started, the better. So one thing we pay a lot of attention now with new hires is how flexible people are. Yeah, if someone comes to an interview, we don't really ask too many questions about their experience because sometimes experience is bad. They bring legacy. What we look at how easy they are to change and how easy they are to scale up things. Yeah. So for example, let's say someone came to an interview and asked a question. What are you interested in? And they say, I'm interested in history. And I say, which part of history? And they say, World Wars. And I say, give me fundamental psychological reasons why Hitler developed the ideas he had. And they need to give me a very non-standard answer. Yeah. So we look for someone who thinks deeply, easy to change, think for themselves, can scale up their work every day. Yeah. So this is becoming more important and it's very challenging. Yeah. So for me, that's the biggest concern I have. Yeah. In our company, can we change people? Yeah. I'm spending a lot of time on this. I can go on about this. Okay. Another question. Yep.
How did you initially validate your customer base when you were starting out?
How did we initially validate our customer? What do you mean by that? Validate your customer base? Do you mean product market fit?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is a bit easy in our case, probably. So it's more probably challenging in our business. What happened? The idea was by our co-founder, Ender, who went for a holiday himself. He was in Midlands. He knew a lot of people. It was clear. It was a bit too obvious that the market exists for this. Yeah. And because there was a supply and there was a market, and market was not aware of the supply. And because personally I'm what we would categorize as average halal conscious middle-aged family holidaymaker, it was very clear to me there is a market for this. There is a market product fit. So in that sense, I didn't think too much about it, to be fair. In our case, we had a business plan, for example. But once I went to one of those hotels and I saw the services there, I thought, here's market, here's supply. It was very clear to me there is a match. So it was a bit easy in our case than in other cases. But that's something, it's a valid question. It's something you do need to keep. A lot of people start businesses thinking, I'm solving a real problem. There is a market for this, but is there? So do question yourself. And coming back to our market, is we actually have this question more now than at the start, because at the start, as I said, we targeted Midlands or UK, and this is the market we understand, this is the market we speak the language of. Now, as we're moving to other markets, we actually realize that our understanding of the market or assumptions are actually not exactly the same fit. So, for example, we're starting some activities in the Malaysian market, and their requirements are different. So we will need to change and adapt our offering to have a better market fit. So how do you do that? I don't know, be in touch with your customer, talk to your customers, validate them, don't assume things. Well, if you don't have 100% correct information, you have to act on assumption. So do act on your assumptions, but always differentiate between the facts and assumptions. As I move forward, I make a lot of decisions based on assumptions. But as it becomes a bigger decision and more spent based on that decision, I keep revalidating. Are those really facts or not? So let's say you make a decision based on being 50% sure about some assumption. Try to move from 50 as quickly as early as possible. So move towards 0 or 100. Because if you move towards 100, you're sure, you go forward with that assumption. If you move towards 0, you know you need to change something. You got it wrong. So just don't kid yourself. So be very clear. What's an assumption? What's a fact? Critical assumptions you're making, turn them into fact in a positive or negative sense. So I said it's a bit easy in our case, but that's if you want a theory about it, that's not mixing facts and assumptions. Try to find a way to validate them. Talk to your customers. Talk to your customers. And another way to do it is, if you have repeat customer, that's a validation. So if you have 100 customers, and within that period, out of those 100, it should have been 50 individual customers, let's say 10 customers booking 10 times, that's way better validation than it's 100 different customers, because those customers may have booked because of the novelty factor or because they misunderstood your offering and they're disappointing and they're not coming back. So always watch repeat rates. Repeat rates are very important. In our industry, unfortunately, it's very difficult to manage repeat rates because you have to make up to 12 months for someone to book again. But there are other ways you can do it. For example, if what we did at early stage, and that's an answer to your question to some extent, what we had in early stages in our booking website, when you book, there was a compulsory question to say, where have you heard about us? We've removed that question now, so at some point we made it optional and then completely removed it. But there was a question, it was just a drop-down list, and you had to answer it. There was no default answer, so there was no. So having that compulsory question is bad because it's an extra question, so extra friction to get a booking. But at that point, it had a great value for us because a lot of people are saying recommended by friend. So recommended by friend is technically not a repeat customer, but it's similar. It means someone booked it, and within the next month they said book it as well. So you know that person who recommended it will come back. So you do have evidence of repeat. So repeat is a great validation of your product market fit. But it's a very important question, product market fit. Very important matter.
In your example, so to take that to the next level, initially, which target market did you target? So was it the young, newly married couples, families, singles, the older generation?
It's a very good question. We specifically targeted 25 to 35-year-old people with 2 children. It was very specific. English-speaking families, halal conscious. So people who would be doing their search on the internet. So people above, at the time at least, people above 35, 40, would not bother doing it on the internet. And people who are very young, 20 years old, would probably not be wealthy enough to go on a family holiday, and they wouldn't have family. So yeah, we specifically to target them. Now our target is a bit wider, and also now we have about 400, 500 registered classic agency, travel agency shops around the world, like UK, Germany, and they service all the customers on our behalf. So we give them some commission, but we don't end up servicing. So we later developed functionality for those agencies, affiliate program. Yeah. So now we're targeting a wider range, but at the time it was 25 to 35 years old specifically, people with 2 children. Okay. Question?
Well, I have 2 questions. First one is, didn't you find it challenging or difficult to run a startup rather than actually keep working in a corporate world for yourself? And secondly, it's halal cooking. You said you focused on facility initially, but when you say halal, it is more understood as what you eat.
Okay.
And my question is, how you measure whether they are actually offering halal food, 100% halal food. For example, in the UK, when every restaurant say, well, we are halal, we are offering halal food, but if it's HMC, then you are actually, you make sure that you are eating halal. So,
I think there were 3 questions, and I'm struggling to remember all. So I already forgot the first question. It was about my corporate career versus, okay. So can you just explain what is it you're interested in? Are you saying which one was easy, or how do I make my decision?
Difficult to actually, you are from corporate world.
Was it difficult for me to do a private business or to make a decision to go to private business? Okay. For me, the decision was super difficult. There are a few reasons for that. I come from a Soviet Union background. I grew up in the Soviet Union, and we didn't have an enterprise there. There was no word business. Yeah, and in 90s when the Soviet Union collapsed and it was capitalism, we started having this fancy word, business. But for a very long time it was a dirty word. Yeah, if you do business, you're almost like a criminal. So a lot of that baggage delayed me making this decision. Looking back at it, I should have never worked for a corporate company. I just wasted my years. Obviously, I learned a lot, and I now as a company is trying to capitalize on my experience. But fundamentally, I wouldn't have done it. I would have never went there. So it was very difficult. And at the time when I made the decision, I had family, my kids were going to school, I had my last savings bet on this. So it was a super difficult decision. But I did make it. And the reason I made it is because it was very clear to me that I will make it sooner or later. Yeah, so the point I was very clear that it's just a matter of time. I said, I'm taking a hit and I'm doing it now. It was very difficult. So, but I think people should be brave. And there was one person who helped me with that, who actually went through that. He worked for large companies like Mercedes-Benz in Germany and then set up his own company. He said, forget everything ever. There's one question. Will you ever stop thinking about it? I said, I don't think so. He said, that's your decision. Yeah? So he said, will you ever stop thinking about this dream, building your own company? I said, probably never. Probably to the end of my life, if I stay in a corporate career, I will be thinking about it. He said, nothing else matters. Oh yeah, you need to have finance because you're family, but fundamentally, the decision is made. It's about whether you do it now or you just get, I don't know, credit from somewhere or an investment and do it a bit later. Do you have a business idea or not? But, so simplify your decision. So if you're at that stage where you're thinking, which path should I go? Simplify the question. Don't put 10 criteria. Put 1 criteria, 2 criteria. Yeah. Simplify any complex decision needs to be done in a simplified way. Focus on the most important criteria, and you will have a decision. I'm not saying everyone should go to private business. Not at all. Yeah? It's everyone has their own path. The reason I was so confident is because I realized one thing. Private business means problems every day. Yeah? It's never-ending problems. Any problem of the business is your problem. Because if it's problem of British Gas, it's problem of British Gas because I can resign and go elsewhere. and the problem stays with them, not with me. Yeah? But if it's my company, it's my problem. It's like a baby. It's absolutely not different from marriage or baby or something like that. You can't get away with it. But if, as a person, psychologically, character-wise, you're comfortable with this, dealing with problems every day, yeah? You don't become crazy, you don't go mad, yeah? Then business is for you. And I'm that type of person. I just never get worried because of multiple problems. I just look at them and look at them as problems, yeah? There are certain things which irritate me, but fundamentally not business problems. So once I realized, I understood this is for me, yeah? So, the other thing is common sense. I think the business is, a lot of businesses is common sense. Unfortunately, common sense is not common. So if you believe you have a common sense, then be brave. Then be brave. You know, it's a lot of businesses are not rocket science. Yeah, but some of them are, but a lot of them are not. And that was also another person who told me. He said, "Elmer, look at this tradesmen. You know, people who come and repair things in your house. Yeah." 90% of them are liars, are not reliable, they're doing a bad job, but they're still in business. So imagine you do a bit better job, you will make more money. Yeah. So being successful in business is not about being 100% perfect. It's being better than competition. So if you choose the right niche, you do it better than others, you will probably succeed. So be brave, but I'm not saying it's ever for everyone. Other question was it difficult to change myself? Yes, it was difficult. I think it took me some time to understand that what works for large business doesn't work for small business. And it's very, very important not to bring the wrong legacy of your background into your business. Yeah. So if you're used to certain things in a large company, only bring them consciously. You know, only bring them if you really think your company needs it at this stage. Yeah. So try to make sure you're not too biased to it. It happened to me that some of the processes I brought, I kind of cancel them out later. So be very practical. You know, think of it. Don't overthink. If you work for a very large company, yeah, I think analogy I use is if you leave your large company, don't start your business as you do things in a large company. Start it as if you're building your own house. Yeah. So be very practical. You know, don't bring the wrong words. So it took me some time to redo it, yeah, but I think I had some advice from people about this, so I was very conscious about it. Don't bring the wrong legacy. What was the third question? I forgot. Okay, so how do we make sure that, for example, there was actually two questions there. Do people think when you say halal cooking, it's about food? Yes, that's a problem. A lot of people immediately think, oh, it's about halal food, and we say, no, it's much beyond the halal food. Halal food is just 10% of it. And actually, the biggest problem we're solving is not halal food. It's also the leisure facilities. We debated a lot what should be our new brand name once we realized that Crescent Tours is wrong, yeah? And there's no single good one, yeah, unfortunately. I think it was a compromise. We considered various things. We even considered it called family booking because a lot of it is about family friendliness. But then it doesn't give exact point. Yeah. So it's not perfect, but I think it's a closest to what we are. You know. So yeah. So we went. It attracts. At least it has an initial attractor, and people come to your website saying, "Oh, I can filter things by halal food," and then you get a chance to explain what it is because then you say, "Oh, our USP is leisure facilities, blah blah blah." So at least it catches. Because if it was ABC booking, people say, "What the hell is this?" Everyone says, "Well, we don't want quick." Yeah. So sometimes you have the over expectation, maybe, or wrong expectation, but it's still your target audience. They come, and you get a chance to give the right branding message. So it's a compromise, but that's what we did. Do we check if the facilities are really what they are? Are they really halal friendly? We don't go and don't check it. Yeah, officially we don't do it. So if hotel says, I have in such and such restaurant in my hotel food halal, yeah, they put a tick, yeah, fine, we accept it, yeah, because contractually we say supplier is responsible for their data on our system, yeah. But also we try to make it clear to the customer, we don't check anything, yeah. We are there as online search mechanism. We help you to meet with supplier, but the contract when you book is with supplier. So this is the official version. Officially, we don't check. But in the early stages, when it was super difficult to get one customer, yeah, we really cared not to lose that customer. So what we did go an extra mile. I'll give an example. Let's say a supplier in Malta, an island of Malta, contacts us and says, we have villas and they have a swimming pool and they're private. I think they're good for your customers. They care about this privacy of the swimming pool. We want to add 10 villas to your website. So we wouldn't just add it. We went there, we checked each villa individually. And we said, yes, yes, no, yes, yes, no. Yeah? So we did that. That's not scalable. But at early stage, it's good to do. Because if your customer goes there and is disappointed, they will never come back. Yeah? If they go there and they get answer to their prayers, that's it, they will bring you 5 customers. So at early stage, do go extra mile, even if it's not scalable. But at the moment, we're not doing it to that extent, yeah? So why? Because that's not our brand, that's not our service. Our service is to make it searchable, whatever hotel claims they have. In reality, we do checks, yeah, remotely, yeah? So let's say they claim they have everything, yeah? And from their website, we think, well, they don't really have anything. So we would come and say, did you really understand questions? And then when we say supplier, which answers the same question, let's say we see 10 suppliers out of 20 who answer the question incorrectly, we'll say, is something wrong with UX? You know, designer looks at it and says, are we asking the question in the right way? Yeah, yeah. So we analyze it, yeah? But we analyze it to make it scalable. So we have to intervene less and less moving forward. But at the beginning, we intervened a lot. We did it on a manual basis, and you know, now we're just trying to do it on a scalable basis. I hope that answers your question. Next question? Okay, yeah.
Yes, you talked about advertising on social media.
Yeah.
And one of the devices that are mostly used to access social media, mobile phone.
Sorry, can you repeat the last sentence?
Yeah, you talked about
yes, social media.
And one of the devices that are mostly used to access social media are mobile phones.
Yeah.
So did you create a mobile app for that, or you have not heard about it?
Okay, the question is that the great marketing opportunity for our business is social media, and social media is primarily used on a mobile device. Do we have a mobile app for that? That's a question. The answer is no, we don't have a mobile app yet, and I will explain why. Because there's 2 types of marketing. One is initial potential customer acquisition. So it's a person who never heard about your brand. You expose your brand. You bring them to your website. You don't expect them to book. Yeah. So let's say if you're selling a game, yeah, normally from the point they see the game to the point they purchase the game is very small, like 1 hour sometimes and so on. Yeah. In our business, it's many months. Yeah. So we put a lot of effort just to expose our brand. So for social media marketing, the primary target is just to expose our brand, to put our brand to their heads, so that in a few months, when the time comes to book, to do the final search and book, they come back. So what I'm trying to say is, the moment we advertise on social media, yeah, we're not aiming for them to book immediately. But what we did is we did spend a lot of time to make sure that at least for the initial browsing our website, our mobile website, not app, yeah, is very fast, very user-friendly. So our mobile website is really great, and there is a parity between desktop and mobile. So we haven't done it. We haven't done it for that reason, and because we realize that once they book, it's normally a result in our niche segment. It's a result of man and woman and kids looking at it on an iPad, on a big screen, debating it, re-debating it, and arguing, and why wants this, man wants that, children want, yeah. So it's a result of multiple visits to our website, which at the later stages happens a lot on desktop or iPad. So we focused a lot on that for that reason. But as we scale up, we will always have a mobile app. But that's the reason why we didn't have it. But we made sure that the website at least is very mobile friendly on a mobile device. Does that answer the question? Which comes back again to prioritization. You need to make tough choices. I've seen some people who would laugh at us, saying, "Oh, we don't have a mobile app." They say, "Yes, we don't have a mobile app." Why? Because we know what to focus on. Yeah. So it's about focus. So don't be afraid to make those hard decisions. Yeah.
How do you ensure and encourage innovation and diversity within your team?
That's a great question. that is actually one of the challenges. So I'll separate it. Diversity and innovation. These are related, but not exactly related. Diversity. I mean, as I said, inevitably when you start a business, you have friends. You don't have a diversity, and then you want to create a diversity. I set an example, yeah, and I set an example of trying to be diverse. Sometimes I may listen to music in front of everyone, which I don't normally listen to, so I understand that don't make assumptions about what I like. You know, I like Depeche Mode. Who knows Depeche Mode? Yeah, okay, not many people, yeah? And you see, it's very strange music, yeah? It's very unorthodox music, yeah? It was an English group in the 90s or 80s. I love it, yeah? I think most people hate it, and a small number of people love it. So I'm one of those people, and I'm not afraid to make it clear to people that I'm not really unorthodox, yeah, in my music choices, yeah. So I think creating, setting an example of being diverse is very important. Being very respectful to differences, man, woman, old, young, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, atheist, whatever. So I think it's very important to set an example. And the technique I use, I do over-exaggerate sometimes. As I said, I mentioned about my music views, I mentioned about my political views, and I mentioned them in a very clear, extreme way, sometimes to shock people a bit, and the next day I say, oh, I changed my mind. I'm now voting for this party. I voted for Conservatives last time, and last time I voted for Leave Them, for example. Yeah? It shows that you're open-minded, you change your mind, you're fluid. I think setting example in that way is important for diversity. I'm not in favor of putting artificial targets. I don't believe in that. I think it's very bad to say we need to have minimum number of people of this type. I think that's wrong. What you need to do is create an environment that those people apply to your company and you hire them. You need to target those people, but don't hire them because of some sort of diversity for the sake of diversity. It doesn't work. It's rubbish. Innovation. I think that's a very, very important question. And as I said, one thing we do not do is we don't pay a lot of attention to experience. Yeah? For example, we interviewed a lot of people who have experience of travel sector, and in some cases it's good, but some cases it's bad because people get used to it and they're not open to change. So I think diversity is something people should be open-minded. People should think for themselves and propose things, yeah? And one thing I'm very careful to do is not to stop ideas, yeah? I encourage people to propose ideas. I encourage people to take risks. And when they get it wrong, we say, you got it wrong, but fine that you did it. Yeah? So for example, today, I was approving a hiring decision, and we think it may get it wrong. We'll probably find out in a couple of months. But I said, yes, but it will be a good experience. We will reflect on it. Yeah? So, for example, we pay a lot of attention to enthusiasm now. Okay? We pay a lot of attention into deep analytical thinking in any area, whether it's politics or history of the world wars or football or whatever. So what I do on the interview is say, which area you think you're the deepest in? Which area do you think you know better than me? And they say something like football. Yeah? And I say, how many football patches are there in a season in a Premier League? Yeah? And if the person gives a wrong answer immediately, you know they're just not careful with data and information. If they say the right answer, you know, they thought it's impossible to guess it. Yeah? It's 760 games. Yeah? No, it's 380 games. Yeah. So if they get it wrong, they think about it, they get wrong and say, but I'm not sure. And you say, okay, just explain how you think. And they explain to you how they think. And you start assisting. You say, I think that's where you get it wrong. You help them. And they say, okay, thank you very much. And they redo their answer. you know that it's someone you can help to develop in the future. Yeah? So hire those type of people. Yeah? But those people who give immediate answers, wrong answers, you know that that's how they will be doing work for you. Don't hire them. Yeah? So that's what I pay attention to. Deepness of intelligence on any matter. Doesn't matter which topic it is. They can choose. And enthusiasm. Yeah? Not too much on experience. Especially if your business is about innovation, you don't need experience. You need innovative character. Yeah? And encourage errors, encourage risk-taking. People should be clear. The analogy I use is in football, if you win 1-0, it's not as good as if you win 5-1. Yeah? 5-1 is better. Yeah? Although you don't have a clean sheet, you can see the goal, but it's +4, it's better. So it's better to play aggressively, take a risk of conceding a goal, but score 5 goals. That's why Brazil wins World Cups. They concede all the time. They're not like Italians, yeah? Or they concede all the time, but they score more goals. So that's what's important, that's what we want, yeah? Brazil type of team, not Italian type of team in business. Yeah? If you're in a business which is not about innovation, which is about operational perfection, that's different. Then you need Italy. Yeah? Then that's different. So for example, to run a hotel is 99% is about doing exactly the same thing every day perfectly. You don't need innovation there. Sometimes you don't want too innovative people there because they will mess things up. Yeah? They'll say, oh, let's implement this, and they will not see it through, and things will not work. Yeah? So then you need people who are very conservative. They perfect things. Yeah? But if you need an innovative business, and high-tech business is by nature very innovative, otherwise you cannot succeed, go for people who are unorthodox, who are risk takers, who think outside of the box, who think deeply, analyze deeply. So that's how we encourage innovation. Other thing is I'm personally relatively skeptical about remote working. We have a lot of people who used to work remotely, and at the time it was great because we had a lot of engineers who were based in Eastern Europe, and relatively it meant lower cost. Now we pay higher salaries, but at the time we could afford low cost, and they were happy to accept, and because of they saw the potential. So it saved a lot of cost, but I think in long term, to me personally, it doesn't work. I think innovation is an uncontrollable process. Yeah, there is no answer how to create innovation. One way to create innovation is when people are together. Yeah? Because if you have a very specific task, you can describe it and say, off you go, please program it, bring it back in a day's time. Yeah, you can do it in GitHub or whatever. Yeah, but innovation, I don't know which innovation we need to create. If I knew all the answers as CEO, everyone can be work wherever they want because I'll give them all information. But I don't have all the answers, or I have high-level answers, ideas about innovation. But really, as you scale up, you want every person at every level to innovate. So being together, to me, is part of the answer. It's not everything, but it's part of the answer. Yeah, that's why companies in Silicon Valley with huge salaries, with very high costs, are successful in spite of high costs because they're together. And this environment is great. I think the biggest value of this environment is you don't just see people, in your company. Yeah, you talk to others, you bounce off ideas. So this place is exactly the right place for innovation. Yeah. I think you were first. Yeah?
Talking about
sorry, am I ignoring anyone in the back? Because I don't really see very well. Okay, you'll be next, I promise, yeah? If nobody minds. Okay. Yeah.
Talking of diversity, and your business is based on family
customers.
Family customers, and how many women do you have in the who involved in the decision making in the company structure?
Okay, that's a good question. So because our market base are families, meaning women are big decision makers, whether to spend £1,000 or not, I think they make 60–70% of the decision. It's always a complex decision, but so because of there are a lot of women who are our actual customers, do we have women in our company? Yes, we do have quite a good proportion of women in our company. So we have about 45–50 people. Out of those, I think 15 are ladies, which is not a bad number, I would say, for high tech. Do we have women in leadership roles? I mean, on my slide, you saw no woman. So, but we do have some ladies which are quite influential. Yeah. So we have someone who's doing a marketing research and feeding research, which seriously affects our new ideas and what to focus on and so on. So we don't have like any formal senior positions, but we try to empower women to contribute more with their ideas. Yeah, so it's a challenge, but we try to do that. And I would love when we have another CXO person who's a woman. At the moment, the only department which doesn't have women in it is engineering department, unfortunately. But we will consider, and we need to have candidates. But again, I don't believe in minimum quotas. Yeah, I think you cannot hire if a person is not qualified. What you need to do is encourage those candidates, the best candidates, to apply. But one thing we've done is we have an extremely woman-friendly environment. I'll give an example. Swearing is more permitted in our company. A lot of high-tech companies allow swearing, and I can understand why. Sometimes I want to swear, but in our company, I made a conscious decision, it's not allowed. Yeah? But there are good reasons why people want to allow it. Yeah? In our company, no, because I want to make it a very woman-friendly environment. I think ladies, that's what I hear, are intimidated by men swearing, so we don't allow that. Yeah, we just try to create an environment welcome for everyone, not just ladies and men. Okay. Who wanted to ask a question? Was it? Sorry? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay. So maybe one or two maximum more questions. Yeah.
So we discussed a lot about customers,
yeah.
Customer acquisition. Because your platform is a marketplace, I think the suppliers play a big role too.
So supply what?
Your suppliers also play a big role because
yeah.
you have a marketplace.
Yeah.
So although we discussed about your customer acquisition strategy, what is your strategy for suppliers?
Okay, so the question is, there is a supplier, there is customers. Customer acquisition marketing, basically customer marketing is one type of marketing, but what about supplier marketing? Because we are a marketplace, so you really do have two customer sets. Supplier is really a customer or participant of our marketplace, yeah? So we need to do marketing to them as well. Supply department does it, yeah? It's a B2B marketing, it's a different type of marketing. So unlike with customers who we try to catch when they do search via SEO and when they on a social media, it's a different type of marketing. So supply department has a person responsible for marketing. Yeah? In the past, I was doing it, other founders are doing it, but now we have more dedicated people. For example, in November, in Excel, there will be one of the biggest travel fairs in the world. It happens every year. We already booked, 7-8 people there, hotels and everything, yeah? So from that department, 7-8 people will go there, plan in advance, meet with lots of suppliers. So that type of marketing is important. You handshake, you sign a contract, and so on. What we do a lot of research of potentially good properties. We get someone just goes and finds their contact numbers. We add it to our database. The second that's added to our database, they're auto-generated marketing messages to them. So we scale it up, yeah? So besides a manual effort to go and shake hands, there is also marketing. Some newspaper articles we sponsor or try to get are not about customer marketing. They're actually trade media, yeah? So they target real hoteliers and so on and so forth. We also engage with some tourism authorities. They do a lot of marketing for us. So they may say to all their hotels, please try and get on this platform. It's an extra segment you can attract. For example, Spain, yeah, they say, we want to have more halal friendliness because we want more customers and more money. So their tourism authority helps us in that sense. So it's a different set of activity, definitely a different set of activity, and we do that as well. So all those activities. I think you want to ask a question? So,
as you say, we are near young entrepreneur. Do you have any new opportunities?
Any what opportunities?
Opportunities.
Yeah.
In this
New opportunities. Yeah.
New opportunities.
In this particular sector?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah. There is always opportunities.
If you were a new startup, which one would you choose?
I mean, the question is, in this sector, are there new opportunities? I mean, there are dozens of opportunities. I don't think I can give answers to that in any detail, but feel free to contact me. I'm happy to have an email exchange or a Skype call or whatever, and I can give you more ideas. But for example, if I was good at running a hotel, I will launch a hotel targeted to this market. Yeah, there is a big opportunity there. There are lots of hoteliers which are missing on this big opportunity. The biggest problem also for hoteliers is how do I market my halal friendless features? We are there. Our website is for that. Yeah. So a lot of suppliers, hoteliers are waking up to this opportunity. So definitely being a supplier is a big opportunity, but that's not high-tech business. Yeah. So if you're specifically interested in the high-tech business, I can give you more pointers, but it's just going to be too long answer. So please contact me. My email is very simple, Elnur, E-L-N-U-R, @halalbooking.com. But it's quite easy to find me on LinkedIn as well, so I can give you more pointers. Just one final question, because this gentleman was raising his hand, young man.
Do you think that it would make sense to, once you've gained more money and your company has grown a bit more, to start funding smaller companies, hoping that one of them would also blow up and become bigger as well?
Why would we do that? I'll answer the question, but I'm trying to understand your question first. Why, as our company, is it related to our sector or what?
Yeah, if you were to just start funding and design and have more ideas for smaller companies, would you fund them or would you just leave them as ideas?
Okay, I mean, personally, if you're asking about me personally, one of my aims in life is to be rich enough to fund a lot of startups. Yeah, and not just to fund, but actually help them. And me being here is a small step in that direction. That's my dream. Yeah. So let's say we reach $1 billion exit. I have a lot of money. I can fund hundreds of startups. Yeah. So personally, that's my aim. Absolutely. As a company, would we fund a startup? No, probably we would separate it, because as a company has its own agenda, its own mission. You should really mix it up. Oh, if it fits that mission, yeah, yes. If it's in that area and supplements it, yeah, we will invest, yeah. But if it's a significantly different idea, then no. But then, as I said, me or other founders, as they get richer, if they get richer, would obviously be very interested to fund. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I think we don't have time, so we have to conclude. But if you do have other questions, feel free to contact me or write me an email. It's easy to find. Thank you.
Thank you, Elnur, for coming and for being so open about talking about your company. Everyone else, thanks for coming. We all gave you a feedback form. It would be great if you all could fill it in and give it to one of the staff members. And enjoy the rest of your evening.